Hello, my name is Lydia Rankin, and I'm the Academic Support Coordinator for the Center of Advising and Academic Success at Whittier College. Like many institutions across the nation, across the world, Whittier College has now experienced its first few weeks with classes, assignments, and campus services online. Since the beginning of this transition, many of us have experienced a plethora of emotions, one of the common ones being stress. In our last video, Welcome to the Web, we discussed academic self-regulation strategies to help you with this new way of doing things. Now, we're going to talk about how our wellness can be challenged by stress during these wild times. And I'm going to give you practical things that you can do to manage this stress so that you can thrive physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and of course, academically during this time. During this past month or so, life seems to have been thrown off course into a storm of unexpected change due to the COVID-19 situation. It's confusing, it's uncomfortable, it's kind of awkward, and it's stressful. So I want to ask, how are you coping? How are you managing your stress? Before we talk about stress management strategies, it's important that we first understand what stress is. In a nutshell, stress is your body's response to stressors. Stressors are the changes and demands and threats in your environment that cause you strain or tension. Most people assume that all stress is bad. However, that's not true. Without stress, your body wouldn't have the drive to jump out of the way when you see a car coming towards you, or to study for that test in biochem, or to make sure you're looking fresh in time for your Zoom date tomorrow night. Moderate or normal psychological stress that is beneficial for your development and drives you to be productive is called eustress. It's like when you're lifting weights. There is strain in your muscles, but you know that this strain is what allows you to become stronger. It's not bad strain, it's good strain. It's not bad stress, it's eustress. Now, if you keep adding pounds to what you're lifting, eventually it's going to be too much, and that strain you experience can become dangerous and lead to injury. Eventually, when stress is too much, it becomes distress, or intense strain that causes physical or mental suffering. In sum, when stress is very low, so is performance. As you increase that stress, however, you experience a level of eustress that motivates you to get things done. But as stress continues to increase, as it becomes distress, mental and physical functioning become impaired and productivity goes down. This is where stress management comes into play. Because not all stress is bad for us, stress management is not about eliminating all stress. Rather, it's about managing 1, the stressors in our environment, and 2, our body's stress response, so that our experience of distress is mitigated. Although there are many aspects of stress management, the components we will explore in this video are environmental factors, the body's physiological response, our cognitive response, our affective response, and time management. The rest of this video is broken into sections dedicated to each of these components. At the end of each section, you will be asked a few reflective questions that are designed to help you apply what you've heard. To get the most out of this experience, I fully encourage you to pause this video during those moments and write down your response as part of a personal action plan for stress management during these wild times. As I explained before, stress is triggered by stressors in your environment. Common stressors for college students right now may include news about the coronavirus, actually experiencing coronavirus symptoms, transitioning into online learning, maintaining social distance, mandatory or socially expected self-quarantine, canceling events, family drama from spending so much time together, food and housing insecurities, financial difficulties, and the list goes on and on and on. Thinking about these stressors can be overwhelming. Even right now, after listing these stressors, some of your stress levels are probably going up, but it's okay. Take a deep breath. Although it's easy to feel overwhelmed by these things, it's possible to address them bit by bit to limit the amount of stress they trigger in you. First, identify your main sources of stress. List everything in your life that is causing you stress right now. Then, star, underline, or box the 3 to 5 stressors that are causing you the most stress. These are your top stressors. Please note that it's not enough to name what stresses you. Although it's a first important step, stopping here may simply work to trigger more stress without helping you actually get through it. You gotta move on to the next step. Second, brainstorm things that you can do to handle each top stressor. You will need to be both creative and realistic. For instance, if news about the coronavirus has made your top list, telling yourself to simply wait out the coronavirus may not be realistic for handling the stress you are experiencing right now. It may be wiser to limit the amount of news you listen to about the coronavirus. If it's your family members constantly telling you about what's happening on the regular, ask them if they can maybe limit what they say to you or when they tell you. Third, identify what supports or resources you can use to handle your top stressors. The resources provided in the description box of this video are a great place to start. Overall, it's important to think about campus resources as well as external support. Bertha.com and 211.org are excellent resources for finding local supports and services for those experiencing a wide variety of needs, including medical, mental, food, and housing. A mistake is made when people assume that stress is just about what's happening out there in the environment. If you only tackle managing your stressors, you're only dealing with part of the problem. It's equally important that you address your body's response to stress. Part of this is your physiological response, or the way in which your body responds to stress on a biological level. When your brain sends messages to the rest of your body that something stressful just occurred, your body releases hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine throughout your system to get you ready for fight, flight, or freeze. These different responses are helpful in different situations, like fighting a lion, or running away from a lion, or hiding from a lion. But the problem is, your body doesn't always understand that dealing with your stressful kid's sister during a quarantine isn't as intense as dealing with a lion. And your kid's sister probably isn't going anywhere. As long as your brain is registering that there is a stressor around, your body is continuously pumping out stress hormones, getting you ready for fight, flight, or freeze. Because your body thinks it's constantly in survival mode, it makes it hard to sleep, hard to concentrate, and hard to get your schoolwork done. You may even experience headaches, stomach aches, or other body aches. Stress is a physical thing, and it needs to be fought on a physical level. First, see your way to physical health with sleep, eating right, and exercise. Sleep is so important to stress management. Insufficient sleep can increase stress levels. At the same time, stress can make it hard to sleep. Doing something relaxing before bedtime or falling asleep to a guided meditation can often help with this. Eating right is also very important. When you're stressed, it's easy to grab foods high in refined sugar, white carbs, and caffeine. But these are the worst for stress. Instead, eat healthy. Look into foods that help reduce stress, like whole grains, fruits, and fish. Finally, exercise. Not only is sitting around all day bad for you in general, but it does nothing good for your stress levels. Exercise, on the other hand, boosts your energy, releases feel-good hormones throughout your body, and strengthens your body's ability to respond to stress well. So take a walk in your neighborhood, put on some workout videos, play Just Dance or DDR. Do what you need to get your exercise in each day. Second, practice deep breathing exercises. When under stress, our breaths tend to get shorter and shallower, which decreases the amount of oxygen going to our brains. This can impair our ability to think as well and make it harder to relax. Breathing deeply can resolve this issue. Third, practice progressive muscle relaxation. When under stress, your muscles tense, which can lead to muscle aches and pains. Progressive muscle relaxation helps to relieve this muscle tension. To practice this technique, you clench certain muscle groups for about 5 seconds and then unclench them for about 10 seconds before moving on to the next muscle group. Specific directions for progressive muscle relaxation and deep breathing exercises can be found among the resources included in this video's description box. Our response to stressors is not just closely tied to our biology, but it also has a lot to do with our psychology. When I talk about psychology, I'm referring to cognition, or the way we think about things, and affect, the way we feel about things. Right now, let's focus on this thinking element, our cognition. When you're under stress, your amygdala takes over. That's the part of your brain that controls your fight, flight, or freeze response and your emotions. The problem is that when the amygdala takes over, the parts of your brain that control your ability to reason and plan and think logically take a back seat. That's why it's hard to think rationally when you're under stress and your emotions tend to take over. An essential aspect of managing stress well is to put your rationality back into the driver's seat. First, as I suggested in our previous video, Welcome to the Web, use the catch, check, change method. When you start saying or thinking something negative like, I'm not smart enough to do this online business, catch the thought and identify it as negative. Next, check it against reality. Although I don't feel smart enough, there are plenty of students just like me who learn to do well in an online environment. Also, I figured out things that were tough in the past. Third, change that thought to something positive. I can learn to do this online business thing. Second, practice gratitude. Practicing gratitude is correlated to lower levels of stress. Thinking about the things that you are thankful for and expressing that thankfulness lights up multiple parts of your brain, including the parts that control your reasoning. Writing down 1 to 3 things you are thankful for each day or each week can go a long way. Telling someone why you appreciate them not only helps them to feel good, but it strengthens your own brain's ability to handle stress. Third, do something creative. Being creative not only decreases the levels of stress hormones that your body is releasing, but it allows your mind to tap into that positive eustress that increases your cognitive productivity. Draw a picture, compose some music, do a puzzle, paint your nails, create choreography, rearrange your room. There are so many things that you can do to be creative. Now, what I don't want you to do is go off and tell all your friends and family that Lydia said to stop your emotions and only value rationality in moments of high stress. Although your cognitive response is very important in managing stress, your affective response is as well. As a reminder, affect is the way we feel about things, our emotions, moods, attitudes. One of the worst things you can do when you're under stress is to deny your feelings of that stress. Denial doesn't make your emotions magically disappear. It just pushes them down deeper into your subconscious, where they fester and become bigger and then resurface later down the line, uglier than you could have ever imagined. And they manifest themselves in other ways. It can be years later and you suddenly realize that you have trust issues, or even physical health ailments that can be traced back to anger, sadness, anxiety, and grief that you didn't properly deal with at the time. Now, letting your emotions explode on everyone and anyone isn't healthy either. Managing your emotions, not denying them or letting them explode on others, is an important aspect of stress management. First, practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of focusing one's attention on the present moment by acknowledging and accepting the emotions, thoughts, and bodily sensations one is experiencing within that moment. So stopping to ask yourself, how do I feel right now? What am I thinking about? How are those thoughts making me feel? What's happening in my body right now, and how is that connected to my thoughts and emotions? Be honest with yourself about how you're feeling. Second, express your feelings in a healthy way. That may mean talking to a trusted family member, friend, counselor, or clergy member about your feelings. It may mean journaling about what's happening in your heart and in your head. It may also mean crying it out into your pillow or even punching your pillow. However, if you do choose to express your feelings in a physical way, like crying or punching, it may be a good idea to pair that physical expression with a mental expression, like talking or writing. Third, do things that make you happy. Laughter truly is the best medicine. Watch a fun show, read a good book, have a game night over Zoom with your friends, have a dance party with the people you live with, or have a dance party by yourself. Stress management takes time. But Lydia, they say, I don't have time, they say. And this is where we need to have a discussion about our priorities. Let me be real with you. The other day I had a really hard time getting out of bed. And when I did finally get out of bed, take a shower, and sit down to do my work, I couldn't think. It was like my brain just stopped. My mind went blank. My motivation? Out the window. My energy? I don't know where it went. And when I thought about how I got to that point, I realized in the few days leading up to that crisis of blank, I had eaten a bunch of junk food, I didn't start my day with exercise or prayer and journaling the way I usually do, I had family and boyfriend drama that I didn't give myself time to process, and I had been working nonstop to get things done. I had managed to throw my stress management plan out the window in the name of busyness, and I was paying for it. The thing is, you have no idea when your crisis of blank will hit you. That moment when eustress becomes distress and productivity plummets. It's important that you make time for this now so that you don't end up paying for it with a crisis of blank or something even worse than that later on. First, schedule in breaks. The very first thing I did in my crisis of blank was apply the Pomodoro technique. This time management technique breaks down work into 25-minute intervals separated by short 5 to 15-minute breaks. A lovely friend of mine introduced me to PomoFocus, a website that helps you keep track of these work and break intervals with task lists, a timer, and an alarm. In my crisis of blank, simply knowing that a break was on its way gave me back some of my motivation. And this tends to be the case for most people. 2, don't let self-care become an excuse for not getting things done. Part of stress management is finding ways to manage your responsibilities well. If you're spending all of your time exercising, reading books, and drawing pictures, you're not getting your classwork done, and then that will become yet another stressor. That's not good time management, that's not good self-care. You need to make sure you're getting your stuff done. 3, practice general time management strategies. We covered a number of great time management strategies in our previous video, Welcome to the Web. I would encourage you to go back and watch that video if you missed these strategies or if you need a quick review. Ultimately, stress management is all about coping, or how one faces and deals with life's challenges. This video has been full of positive coping strategies, but I can't forget to mention that many of us also rely on negative coping strategies to deal with our stress. Negative coping strategies are those strategies that may help us deal with the immediate symptoms of our stress, but cause damage to our physical, social, mental, spiritual, or financial well-being in the long run. Letting our emotions blow up on the person in front of us, or eating a bunch of junk food, for example, feels good in the moment, but where does it lead us? With damaged relationships and health problems. Binge drinking, smoking, vaping, unsafe sex, self-harm, reckless driving, bullying others, compulsive shopping or gambling, these are all negative coping strategies that people use. Part of stress management is not only adopting positive coping strategies, but walking away from these negative ones. I want to share something with you. This is one of my main stress management tools. It's my planner to help me keep track of my responsibilities and activities, but it's also a strategy guide where I can write out what I am doing to address the problems I face each day. It's a creative outlet where I can use gel pens and stickers to express myself. It's a journal where I talk about what happens to me each day and how it made me feel. It's a place where I write down what I'm thankful for each week. As each day passes under what feels like the regime of the coronavirus, it's easy to feel uneasy. In many of our lives, the doors to stress seem to be unending and opening wide, beckoning for us to lose control or submit to a crisis of blank. But we have stress management on our side. And keeping our stress levels down can be challenging, but things can get easier day by day, week by week, with practice and with patience. And I fully acknowledge that stress management is harder for those of us who have an anxiety disorder. If that is your story, then you may need some extra support from a mental health professional as part of your personal stress management plan. Now, whatever your stress management journey looks like, remember that it's just that, a journey. There will be ups and there will be downs. There will be hills, there will be valleys. There will be rocks in your shoes, but then there's also going to be streams off in the distance. Stress management, it's a lot of trial and error as you discover what works for you. Just remember, don't lose hope. You will learn to cope.